What is good, everyone? Welcome to this video. I'm Charlie from Conscious Creation, and in this video I would like to share with you how the law of attraction actually works and how you can then apply it in your life. So a simple way to look at the law of attraction is like attracts like. So depending on the energy that you are putting out will determine the things that come into your life. Now, the law of attraction is like that of gravity. It is always working. It's not something that we can switch on or we can switch off. We can either be conscious about it or unconscious about it. And the more conscious we can be about it, the more we can then use it to our benefit in creating our lives. Now, I'm going to share with you the scientific research I have done into it. Now, as I go through some of this, it might sound a little bit complicated, but I will sum it up so you can use it in practical ways in your life. So we as human beings have something called an electromagnetic field encompassing our body. This can be measured in science through something called a magnetometer. What's within your energy field will determine the things that come into your life. Things like your relationships, your jobs, your career, your abundance. So we can start to see how important this electromagnetic field is. I'm going to go through some scientists that talk about the importance of DNA with that of the law of attraction. I'm going to start off talking about a chap called G.W. Harding. He did a lot of work in DNA. Now over here, I've got a 2D cross-sectional image of DNA. And if we spin it through space like that of a vortex, it becomes something called a fractal tesseract, which means it converts into a compressor antenna. So our DNA acts like an antenna hooking into our manifestations. This is what G.W. Harding is saying. So when we're manifesting, things come from the non-physical, the quantum world, the etheric world, that beyond the five senses. And our DNA is the link between us and the non-physical and bringing our manifestations into this reality. Now, two Russian scientists known as Fozar and Blulov, they did a lot of work on the chromosomes in our DNA, and they figured out something amazing, that the chromosomes in our DNA are like that of a holographic computer. Now, if you know what a hologram is, let's say we got a holographic picture, we cut it 1,000,000 times. Within each fragment is the whole. Within our DNA is the whole. So what they're basically saying is that our DNA is like a storage unit for infinity, which is nuts. Another scientist called Dr. Konstantin, he did a lot of work on how the connection between our DNA and the non-physical actually happen. So our DNA conducts electricity, and it's through this conduction of electricity that it creates electrons. Now, from these electrons comes something called spiral pathways. From these spiral pathways comes something called scalar waves. Now, he figured out that the link with all of this creates a liquid-like crystal within our DNA. So our DNA is like that of liquid crystals. Now, another scientist, she's a spiritual scientist. Her name is Linda Gadbaus, and she did a lot of work on what these scalar waves do. So these scalar waves that come out of our DNA, they organize astral light, photons, the building blocks of our reality. So what all these scientists are saying is that our DNA affects our physical reality. The question is, can we change our DNA? And I'll get onto that in a little bit. Now, there's another famous scientist known as Max Planck, who the film The Matrix actually comes from his work. And what he was saying is that the space around us is not empty. It's filled with this electromagnetic energy that is basically responding to our energy field. So when it comes to the law of attraction, it's not I want this, I want that. It's who we are being. So people say, oh, I want this, I want that. But you need to change your state of being, what's within your energy field, in order for this outer field to start giving you a different response, because we are the objective creators. We get to decide the things that we attract in our life by changing our energy, therefore by changing our state of being. This field, this quantum world that gives us our manifestations, is subjective. It doesn't look at things as good or bad, because that's all just a matter of perception. It is just simply responding to the energy that we are putting out. I'll give you an example of this. Let's say you grew up and you saw your parents have a certain type of relationship, and you now view that's what a romantic relationship is all about. And you then go along and start attracting people in your life that reflect that perception. Or maybe you had a traumatic experience with a partner, and you then say, all women are bad, or all men are bad, or there are no good women or no good men out there, because you're holding this perception. And this actually links in with the double slit experiment, which basically shows it's our expectation of things that actually has an effect on our physical experiences. So when it comes to changing our state of being, we need to be aware of these parts of ourselves. We need to learn to then let them go. And then we need to embody the person that we would prefer. So you need to feel the feelings of what it would feel like to have the things that you want, even though they're not currently in your reality. So let's say, for example, is you want to embody the version of yourself that is abundant and has wealth. Even if your current situation is not showing you any reason for that to be, but if you can hold that state of being within yourself, you are going to attract opportunity after opportunity that will give you a chance to become more abundant. Now, we often say, oh, that person got lucky, or they were just in the right place at the right time. But we attract the opportunities due to the energy that we are giving out. And as long as we can hold a certain state of being, is we will continue to get those opportunities over and over. I remember watching one of Abraham Hicks's talks, and someone asked her, oh, what if I miss my opportunity? And she said, it just keeps coming again and again and again. As long as you can hold a certain state of being, is these opportunities will just keep coming in your life. Now, coming back to that of DNA, can we change it? I believe we can, because DNA morphs. It's like that of liquid crystals. We can change the connections in our brain through something called neuroplasticity, and we can therefore change that of our own DNA. Now, your DNA doesn't respond to what you can see. It doesn't have ears, it doesn't have eyes, it doesn't have a mouth. It responds to feeling. A chap called Bruce Lipton, who's at the forefront of a new science called epigenetics. And what he says is that the old model is the environment affects our DNA. But what he shows is the feeling to what the environment is actually giving us. So if someone says something to you, let's say someone calls you stupid, and you accept it on an emotional level, that is actually having an effect on your DNA and the view of yourself, therefore the things that you attract in your life. But what if we can choose to feel those feelings, even if the environment isn't giving us a reason to feel that way? This is the difference between a creator and a victim. A victim is, oh, things are happening to me, I'm going to blame that person, I'm going to blame the government, it's their fault that I'm not in the position that I want to be in. A creator is simply choosing to feel those feelings regardless of their environment, and then the environment starts to mold to their state of being. Often people say, I'll be that way once I have this. I'll be happy once I have the money. I'll be that person once I have those things. But it works the other way around with that of the law of attraction. You need to be a certain way with the circumstances that you have in order for the law of attraction to start working for you in the way that you want. Coming on to another scientist named Fritz Albert Popp, he did a lot of work in DNA as well. And he says that we can tune our DNA to any frequency. So coming back to the idea that our DNA is a storage unit for infinity, that we can tune our DNA to any reality by focusing on that version of ourselves. So why not tune your DNA to the best version of yourself by feeling the feelings of what it would feel like to be that person, regardless of your current environment. And there's a couple more scientific things that I would like to reference here because they really support the idea of how your DNA can actually have an effect on your physical reality. There was a chap called Vladimir Popomin in 1992 who did a lot of work on DNA again, and he basically got a glass jar. He emptied the glass jar of the air through that of a vacuum. He then put photons, the building blocks of our reality, within the glass jar. So these photons of light were in the glass jar and they were random. He then put human DNA into the glass jar. Now what happened next was really interesting because the photons they actually molded to the shape of the DNA. Even when he removed the DNA, the photons of light still remained in the same pattern. Now the Heart Math Institute, they've done a lot of work on how our emotions affect our DNA. And what they figured out is that when we're in the emotions of hate, grief, fear, apathy, shame, is the helix contracts. When we're in the emotions of peace, love, joy, and contentment, is they relax. So we know that our DNA is affecting our physical reality, but we can change the shape of our DNA through that of our emotional state of being. Have you ever found when you wake up one morning and you're just really angry, you seem to attract more and more situations that reflect that energy back to you? What we're doing with this is we're basically choosing to feel a certain state within ourselves regardless of our environment, and as long as we can hold that state long enough, the outer world must start reflecting this back to you. So thank you for watching. I will put a free meditation below that can help you with the process of reprogramming your subconscious mind if you want to give it a go. Apart from that, peace, much love, and take care.